Hello guys and gals, Jowd here, and welcome to the first Reddit video that I've ever done. I've been planning to do Reddit for a while now, like of course with all the Reddit trending going on. But for starters, like I want to do a lesser known subreddit. Like I'm doing r/RPG HorrorStories. Like as a person who play a lot of D&D and like World of Warcraft and all that stuff, and of course RuneScape. Who can forget about RuneScape? I wanna say about some RPG horror stories. I want to read some RPG horror stories. Anyway, this is a little readout. So if you want to read out, so what I intend to do is that you check out in the description down below. Get the links. Read them yourself, and like we read along together. Okay? Anyway, okay. Nightmare combat. Player character challenges an entire fortress to fight the party. They oblige him. This is a second D&D campaign. Ever since we created new rules for who can join our table and kicked bad players, our game has been going well, like it did before the problem players joined. The only problem is our dwarf player, who used to be careful before these players, is now kind of careless. I am running a sandbox game with locations that are short dungeons or longer modules. The players are exploring the Underdark as the dwarf player was given a dwarven fortress. Their goal at first was to stop attacks on their town. They had to find the base from which they were being launched. One of the encounters what the hell's that word? Kautu, nailed it. I'm attacking friendly Underdark merchant caravans. After defeating the orc encampment that was attacking our town, they decided to handle this. They found the module, the Shrine of Kautu. Again, nailed it. This shrine is apparently a lot more like a fortress, complete with an army of Kautu. Much like against the giants, they expect you to use subterfuge or guerrilla warfare to defeat this. Kill, attack like 10% of them, retreat and recover, then repeat. In this, the enemies are in sections of the map. If you want to take it all at once, you need to go into that section, kill the enemy stealthily, or expect a horde, almost like 200. Kautu, attacking, is a lot like XCOM 2 in a way. Take out as many as you can stealthily until you can handle the rest, or a lot of 2E pre-made dungeons work like this. Another thing about this module is, despite being a monster race, if you can go there, they expect you are there to pay a tribute to their god. They are neutral so long as you don't do anything taboo. For which there was a few, but any careful player could easily avoid them easily. I also relayed this to the players. As they walked in, nobody really cared at first they were there. The illusionist casts Invis on herself and explores the dungeon to scout it out. He saw about 90 enemies, but lots of areas he didn't explore. The first thing after which happened is the dwarf shouted a threat to the entire dungeon. He demanded the vacate the area or abandon their evil god. Nothing at first because they don't know common. Then another player translated in his shout. I don't know if anyone here ever played EverQuest, but at this point is when basically the entire dungeon aggroes the party and fights them. Everyone is alerted by the guards as a shout echoes through almost 200 enemies. These monsters are pretty ridiculous too. 1/3 of them are clerics and thieves, so they have backstab. A lot of them have ways to turn invisible. They are highly intelligent, minimum 13. They have special weapons and armor of all kinds that do all kinds of craziness. Garrett, that instantly kills a person after 2 rounds, check. Harpoon, that makes a person prone and pulls it towards the enemy, where he gets an instantly kill the player character, check. Claw that instantly grapples on the hits, check. Shields that have a 25% chance of your weapon sticking to it, check. Multi-classed priests with all the best buffs in the game, check. Again, they knew this. One of the players have DM'd these creatures in a game I was in, and he used all the same abilities. Still, they decided they can take them all at once. Then begin the biggest clusterfuck session I've seen in years. I decided to do side-by-side initiative as opposed to individual, because rolling for all of these every round would be insane. The Horde approaches and they cast their spells and prepare, which is a 15-minute rounds. They see basically all of them at this point. Still, they don't run. The dwarf charges ahead. The rest of the party defends and casts buffs and summons themselves. Second round, they're all range attack, throwing something like 78 spears at the party and 10 archers shooting 20 times. This is a 15 to 20 minute round. Still, they don't retreat. They have to crit to hit any of the party members, and I roll poorly. Druid casts a spell, Wall of Ice, to block some of them. If they attack the wall, they take damage. They just send a horde of creatures to attack the wall. They lose about 20. Eventually the priests dispel it, and they engage in melee. Now a good 100 of these creatures are level 2. The party's is level 6 to 10. 2E character classes don't level up evenly, and we have multi-class which splits XP in half. Party has 5 to -7 action points. -7 action points is basically for most creatures. You must crit to hit. 2E has a rule against this called Overwhelm. Basically, you get a bonus to hits based on the number of a horde of creatures attacking. At first, they could not hit. Then, each round after this, more and more they hit. Multiple creatures in 2E can fit into this same 5-foot area, so they are basically getting huge bonuses. After a couple of rounds, the party basically is getting wrecked, and nobody will flee. It's like they have a death wish. At some points, it becomes impossible to flee, but at least 3 of them. But this is a 7-man table. One player character shapeshifts into I still can't figure out that word. With magic, and disappears into the horde, effectively hiding. Eventually, the enemy, I'm just going to call it enemy, flank the party and take out the archer. At this point, the rounds are each taking about 20 minutes. It's incredibly bogged down. I don't like it, and you can tell a few players don't like it. But what am I supposed to do about this point? You went into a literal fortress and challenged the entire place. Someone suggests I should run them in groups, but they are mixed across, attacking everyone. In a way, this can't be done. I run side versus side rounds for this reason. One thing is, this entire time I'm running it as these creatures could do the combat intelligently. For example, they can see in the darkness up to 10 feet, and all their priests have continual darkness spell, so they use it, making things even more difficult for the party. And they don't want to, because I knew it would only make it more annoying, but it did it anyways. It turns out it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. It just made it so one player character couldn't use a CC spell, but things continued it did. Entire 6-hour session, about 4.5 hours of this, and only one player character has died, and they killed probably about 50 or 60 of these things. The night ended before the creatures took their next rounds, where 2 more player characters are likely to die, unless I roll roll poorly. This isn't the typical horror story here, but it felt like horror to run. I'm using Fantasy Grounds to track combat at. I couldn't imagine running this in 1982 when this module was made. Yes, Fantasy Grounds was able to handle and track about 200 creatures. Creating this encounter froze the program for like 15 minutes though. Next session, a player character is going to spawn a Vorok with a imbecile staff and pull him out of the battle so he can fireball the area. He has a special fireball spell that only damages enemies. The druid casts rock to mud that will kill 90% of everything within 3 rounds, including 3 of the player characters. The druid has a rise dead spell that he got throughout spell research, so he's going to just kill everything, turning into a burrowing animal to retrieve the allied corpses and revive and res them. After this, I'm going to have a little talk with the party about handling dungeons like this, but I guess we must wade through the horror of this combat in the meantime. I'm hoping this is a learning experience for everyone. Yes, it was actually. Hold up, throughout all the bloopers, that took about 20 minutes. So yeah, throughout my entire time playing Dungeons and Dragons, I've never experienced a game that literally took a few hours. Never mind. Several hours. I've never experienced a dungeon with several hours. But then again, most of the sessions that I've been playing was like a few hour long sessions. And yeah. I really want to get into D&D again, but most of my friends don't play Dungeons and Dragons. Or, then again, I had not really mentioned them yet. Anyway, next story. Friend or Fiend. So this all started in December of 2016. Probably, since not completely prudent to the story, I'll just say that my ex-fiancé cheated on me, and I moved in with my dad. I had quit my job a few months earlier due to stresses and wanting to be home with my child. Me and my ex worked too much. Looking forward, in April of 2017, a couple of friends I've known online for a while and I was supposed to move in with were getting kicked out of their apartment. The landlord wanted to renovate, so they were not allowed to renew the lease. I saw the notice myself. My friends were a couple of 5 years. The guy, we'll call him Dude, and his fiancée, Dudette, for simplicity's sake. Anyways, we all lived with my dad for a few months, until we talked him into moving into a bigger, better place, which he wanted to do anyways. My dad had been in a car accident about a year earlier, completely shattered his hip to the point he could still walk, but not well enough to do anything physical. My dad is the type that likes to work and hates being idle, so he slipped into drugs, and I wanted to get him off them. We moved to a small town, signed an agreement that was supposed to be rent-to-own. In January 2018, the RP started. We had been working on the details for a few months, with me writing the large portion of the backstory and making the map of the world. We decided on the Fate core system for its open-endedness. The few months were great. Myself, Udette, and Dad all had characters, and Dude seemed to be an excellent GM. Oh wait, GM stands for Game Master. The story unfolded well until the first instance. We started getting alcohol before sessions. My dad was an addictive person, but has an addictive personality, obviously, and overdrank. This annoyed the Game Master, who, on the third session after we started drinking, decided we'll get drunk too, and that is when the delusion started. First, I should describe Dude. He was diagnosed on the autism spectrum, kind of unreserved, but a bit of an overly honest and socially awkward. He was always touchy about talk of sex, but the fact about myself and Dudette were both more of the kinky types, though Dudette and I never did anything. Anyways, he finally came out and said, while drunk, that one of the super powerful characters spoke to him, though later he said she actually took over him, and came out that he was actually pretty deviant as well. That is when things took a heavy turn. He started playing said overpowered character as a GMPC, Game Master Player Character. keeping the spotlight on him and the Dudette's characters, soon adding more OP characters to the mix for the two of them. They started playing their characters' stories in their bedroom when we weren't playing together, and they started obsessing about the roleplay to the point they were playing 5 nights a week, 8 to 10 hours a session. Needless to say, myself, my dad, and another player who came in later, we'll call him Twink. He would get the joke, and he'd be okay with it. Got burnt out. Dude and Dudette would hog the majority of gameplay, focusing more on their relationship and social interactions, and not so much the overall story. Actually, it got to the point that they were playing out every single scene and every scene in detail, never skipping even minutes of what was happening. To the point it was several sessions to even get through a few hours of in-game time. Sessions continued to get worse. Sex scenes became normal with no fading to black. And by this time, my dad had already given up on the game. Myself and Twink would try to do our own thing with side stories via Google Docs. But if we got caught during game time, we would be punished and chastised. Dude had about 25 plus characters by now, all integral to the story. Integral being quotation marks. At this point, I had been dating my significant other for about 4 months. She had finally moved in out of her mum's house and into her dad's, where she's had more freedom. I started playing the RP less and less. The sessions had become so insane. There was no story anymore for anyone that was directly involved with Dude's character. At this point, he was basically writing his stories with his character's own bibliographies. Eventually, I got fed up and started questioning my friendship with Dude, to the point that I started to realize that he was using me and my dad. At the time, I was so desperate for companionship that I kept making excuses for the two of them. Anyways, I started a lot of time with my significant other, and I started filling out job applications, demanding that I get my life back on track, so I didn't end up like them. In August of 2018, I got a job and quit the roleplay for the good. Twink was still playing, but he wasn't much of it either. At the end of September 2018, I moved out and into my own place with my significant other. I tried to continue to helping them until I hit a deal on the way home from work in November. I lost my car and I had no way to go see them. They were about 45 minutes away. They ended up not being able to pay rent and got evicted in February. My dad, who I've been trying to get away from them, insists on continuing to help them and has been living in a hotel with them since. At one point, I got so pissed off, I told them how I felt, that they were being lazy and needed to step up and start living their own lives. They got angry with me and blocked me on everything, telling me that I was fat, useless, and destined to fail. And the most interesting part about this is that they signed that message with the name of their characters that they created as versions of themselves in RP world. In the last few months that Twink played, things had only gotten worse. They had started to talk about how they were looking for a way out of this simulation/nightmare. They were trying to find their way into the roleplay world, and that all of us were just programs here to make their lives miserable. Honestly, I wish I had more details on this. However, I felt things only got worse between us, and for the roleplay overall. For my understanding, they had blocked and deleted most social media platforms, don't talk to any of their friends anymore, and are still living in a hotel with on my dad's money. I honestly am trying to help my dad, but he won't return my calls most of the time. Most likely due to depression. I offered him to live with me, but I guess he feels responsible for Dude and Dudette. P.S. If I miss any details or anyone wants more information, let me know. I know this seems hard to believe in places, but it all happens. I'm not the best at writing anything, and usually only excel with fantasy, not real life. But I feel like this needs to be posted here. So long did it read. Game Master lost his mind and stole a bit of yeah. Anyway, I'm not gonna read all the edits and all that stuff, but you can read them as well. Anyway, that was just completely crazy. That was completely crazy. Like, one, I didn't screw up as often, even though the paragraphs are like massive. Like they're absolutely massive, and I've been about 30 minutes now, and wow. Anyway, that was RPG Horror Stories. Thank you for watching. Oh, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to this video. I hope you followed along to the actual story and all. Oh my god. Whew. Hope you enjoyed. I hope you listened along while you were doing your homework or doing your whatever. And if you want to read along to the stories, like all the posts that I've read will be in the description down below, as well as the terminology that I've referred to. So yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching, and yeah, I just want to give a shout out to this other YouTuber called Spice and Sugar. So like they just added me on Twitter. So I decided, and they have very little subscribers. So I just decided to just give them a shout out and yeah. Anyway, guys and gals, I hope you enjoyed this video. Jout is out. See you next time.